This is the QTV Nightly News, which is also on Q Radio 103.3 FM. And I am Mamna Bukar. Thank you for joining us. Here are the headlines. Speaking to journalists at the airport upon his return on Wednesday, President Adama Barrow said that Gambia's participation in the 9th Nigeria International Energy Summit 2026 in Abuja represents a key milestone in advancing the country's role in Africa's energy transition agenda. The Gambia has been elected by consensus to the Vice Chair of the Bureau of the Preparatory Committee for the United Nations Conference of Plenipotentiaries on the Prevention and Punishment of Crimes Against Humanity. The Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital has received 10 new point-of-care ultrasound machines along with iPads from the University of California Davis Training Team. In international news, at the World Government Summit, the presidents of Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone and Botswana spoke on global power shifts, rising tensions between China and the West, and what those changes mean for ordinary Africans. In sports news, the Gambia is hosting the 8th Association of International Sports Press Congress 2026 as sports writers and broadcasters from across Africa and around the world arrive in the country. These and more coming ahead. Do stay with us. Now, President Adama Barrow says the Gambia's participation in the 9th Nigeria International Energy Summit 2026 held in Abuja marks a significant step in positioning the country within Africa's energy transition agenda. Speaking to journalists at the airport on his return on Wednesday evening, he described the invitation as both an honor and strategic opportunity for national development. Aliou Cisse reports.
I urge that we move beyond declarations to implementation, beyond ambition to accountability, and beyond isolated national actions to regional solutions.
The 9th edition of the Nigeria International Energy Summit brought together African leaders, global energy stakeholders, and policy experts to discuss the continent's energy future and transition strategies. According to President Barrow, this year's summit was distinct from previous editions as participation was elevated from ministerial level to heads of state.
This is the 9th edition. But the difference is they have always been inviting ministers. That was the highest level. But this time, they decided to invite presidents. And Gambia was privileged to be invited. So it is an honor for us to be recognized among African head of states and to be invited to Nigeria.
The Gambian leaders stressed the need for African countries to coordinate policies and adopt a unified position.
It was a very important summit because it's about energy. And Africa is trying to transition, and in this transition, there are a lot of challenges. And there is implication for Africa. That's why they wanted Africans to come together, discuss as a family, and take a common position and a policy.
President Barrow noted that while the continent is pushing for cleaner energy, it must also make strategic use of its natural resources, including mineral reserves, before and during transition period.
Because we are endowed with minerals, and obviously we want to harvest those minerals before the transition. So that's why Africa is doing everything possible and putting our heads together, bringing our engineers, our knowledgeable people together to look inwards in the interest of the continent.
He highlighted the critical role of the private sector in driving the Gambia's economy, noting that businesses and public institutions in the energy and mineral sectors join discussions to build partnerships and technical capacity.
And energy is national security. This is the way even we consider it in the Gambia. Private sector from the Gambia, especially government institutions that are also in the industry, working to make sure that Gambia also is endowed, is able to explore our minerals. So we are there to learn from others and also to collaborate so that there will be training.
President Barrow says the outcomes from the summit will support the Gambia's efforts to strengthen energy security, develop local expertise, and expand opportunities in the minerals and energy industries. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
The Gambia has been elected by consensus to the Vice Chair of the Bureau of the Preparatory Committee for the United Nations Conference of Plenipotentiaries on the Prevention and Punishment of Crimes Against Humanity. The election took place at the UN headquarters in New York. Here is my report.
May I take it that it is the wish of the Preparatory Committee to elect Ms. Sanyang of the Gambia and Mr. Boussahel of Algeria as Vice Chairs? I see no objection. It is so decided.
The election was held during a plenary session on 27th January 2026 at the United Nations headquarters in New York. The Gambia's nomination was endorsed by the African Group, reflecting confidence in the country's growing role in international justice and legal reform. With the strategic guidance of the Gambia's permanent representative to the United Nations, His Excellency Ambassador Lamin Diba, Ms. Marang Sanyang, Counselor and Legal Advisor, was unanimously elected to serve as Vice Chair on the Bureau of the Preparatory Committee. The prevention and punishment of crimes against humanity remains central to the international community's efforts to combat impunity and strengthen accountability for the gravest crimes under international law. While genocide and war crimes are governed by specific international treaties, crimes against humanity currently lack a dedicated universal convention. The Preparatory Committee has been mandated to address this long-standing legal gap. Its work includes facilitating consultations among member states, engaging with the International Law Commission's draft articles, and enabling governments to propose amendments ahead of the diplomatic conference scheduled for 2028 and 2029. As a member of the Bureau, the Gambia is expected to play an active role in shaping discussions towards the development of a comprehensive, universal, and legally binding convention. The initiative aims to strengthen international cooperation, enhance domestic capacity, and close impunity gaps, while promoting inclusive, transparent, and constructive engagement throughout the process. The election marks another milestone in the Gambia's continued commitment to advancing international justice and the rule of law on the global stage. Mamna Buka, reporting for QTV News. The Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital has received 10 new point-of-care ultrasound machines along with iPads from the University of California Davis training team. The donation is set to enhance diagnostic services, empower healthcare professionals, and improve patient care across the country. Jacqueline Coley tells us more.
In low-resource settings like the Gambia, access to diagnostic imaging remains a significant challenge due to a shortage of radiologists, limited CT scan capacity, and the lack of formal POCUS training programs. As a result, many clinicians depend largely on clinical judgment, often without real-time imaging support. Dr. Lamin B. Jaite, head of the Department of Surgery at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, underscored the significance of the collaborative training partnership between the hospital and the University of California, Davis.
As you can see, the impact of this training has gone beyond the four walls of this hospital. And we have had examples of people who, after 1 or 2 days of attending this training, tell us stories of how they've been able to improve care. A good example was a medical doctor who works in Kanifing, who last week when we had the training told us after the first day of training here, he went back to Kanifing, he was on call, and because of the POCUS training, he was able to diagnose an ectopic pregnancy just by doing a scan, which probably would have been missed.
Unlike in many high-income countries where emergency medicine is an established specialty, the Gambia currently lacks a dedicated emergency medicine department to support POCUS services. To bridge this gap, the educational program takes a multidisciplinary approach involving doctors from internal medicine, surgery, pediatrics, obstetrics and gynecology, anesthesiology, and radiology. Dr. Christine Macbeth, head of the POCOS training team at the University of California, Davis, highlighted the significant impact of the collaborative training since its launch in 2020.
To date, we've trained over 140 providers in the Gambia, and that's doctors and nurses. And as of this morning, we have documented 957 ultrasound scans, which will be at 1,000 soon, which is exciting. Since 2023, we've been collecting some data on how that changes patient management. So each of these scans represents a patient that was impacted by this care. And on our preliminary data, at least 50% of those scans have changed patient management.
Gambia's ambassador to the U.S., Mulder Lamin Ba, outlined strategies to broaden collaboration across hospital departments, highlighting key priority areas to ensure the initiative delivers maximum impact.
UC Davis, I would suggest maybe a more comprehensive memorandum of understanding between the two institutions, so that it is not only for one department, but generally all the areas that the hospital is dealing with. And then in terms of priority, in terms of availability, then the missions can be structured, in that way to be more effective.
Dr. Mustafa Abite is the Chief Medical Director at the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital.
As a management, I would want us to put a lot of emphasis on how we maintain these machines. So I will task John on behalf of CMAC, ensure that there is a criteria, step-by-step approach on how the machines are used.
The donated devices are expected to enhance clinical diagnosis, reduce delays in patient management, and contribute to building sustainable ultrasound capacity across the national healthcare system. The partnership also highlights the growing role of international collaboration in strengthening healthcare delivery in resource-limited settings. Reporting for QTV News, I am Jacqueline Collie.
That report by Jacqueline Collie will take us on a commercial break. When we return, we have national, international, and sports news stories. Do stay tuned.
Good health starts with what is on your plates. That is why the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations FAO and the Ministry of Health have partnered to create the food-based dietary guidelines to help us meet our nutritional needs, promote health, and prevent disease. For strong muscles, healthy growth, and a strong immune system, animal source foods are essential. The FAO and the Ministry of Health recommend including 1 serving of animal source foods in your daily diet. A serving could be 1 large bonga fish, a chicken leg, or 6 matchbox-sized pieces of beef. Aim for 120 grams each day. Incorporate more foods from domestic animals like poultry, eggs, and milk for high-quality protein, while limiting processed meats and saturated fats. Eat animal source foods daily for a healthier, stronger you and a healthier Gambia. Eat well, live strong. Follow the food-based dietary guidelines.
Welcome back, and this is QTV News. SOS Children's Village, The Gambia, hosted a partnership event bringing together companies, institutions, and individuals supporting its programs. The ceremony recognized partners' contributions and encouraged broader support to ensure children receive safe care and protection. Momoda Gajaga attended, and he now reports.
The event took place in a colorful ceremony at the organization's main center in Bakote, marking the formalization of a strategic partnership with a coalition of donors to strengthen its essential work in providing family-based care for vulnerable children. Jean-Pierre Kwame, National Director, SOS Children's Villages, The Gambia, gave details.
We have seen that working together can make a big difference, and we want this to be extended to any other stakeholders in the room today. I don't see any cause beyond serving children, families, and communities being beyond what we want to see happening in the country.
The event brought together key partner institutions in a demonstration of collaborative effort to strengthen child protection, promote family empowerment, and support sustainable community development. Tijan Betts, Institutional Partnership and Fund Development Team Leader, highlighted some of the organization's key intervention areas.
Access Bank we started last year, and they go for the youth card package, and we hit the country. It was a big pitching competition that was covered nationwide, and the beautiful part of it, they have made a difference directly to 10 young people, and they're giving startup fund, and those startup fund, those young people now, they're doing their businesses, and they make a difference. And therefore, those young people, they're from vulnerable family homes that pass through our TVET programs.
A short video documentary showcased SOS Children Villages Gambia's area of support for children. Mfansu, who came to the center as a baby, is now a healthy young boy thanks to support from Trust Bank. Jilan Sengor, managing director of Trust Bank, one of the partner companies, spoke about their involvement in the initiative.
SOS is doing more than just providing shelter. It's providing stability, it's providing love and care and support and a nurturing environment to children who are the bedrock of any society.
In recognition of their contributions, SOS Children's Villages The Gambia presented partner institutions with certificates and gift bags. This partnership exemplifies the impact that can be achieved when institutions and communities work together. The partnership event highlighted the power of collaboration in ensuring children's safety, care, and development. SOS Children's Villages The Gambia applauds its supporters and calls on more institutions and individuals to join in building brighter futures for vulnerable children. Mamudu Gajaga, QTV News.
Coming up next is international news. At the World Government Summit, presidents from Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, and Botswana used a panel to speak frankly about global power shifts, rising tensions between China and the West, and what those changes mean for ordinary Africans. Yafatu Gay tells us more.
Zimbabwe is a sovereign state.
Yes.
And we move on the basis that give us the best results of our resources. Whether it is relation with the West or the East, what is primarily important is what we ourselves as Zimbabweans are satisfied with. We don't need to please the West or please the East. We please ourselves.
That was Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa, who said sanctions and geopolitical pressure make development harder and urged that African countries should be free to choose their own economic partners. The leaders acknowledged China's growing influence across the continent, but rejected narratives that portray Africa as a passive battleground between global powers. Instead, they stressed agency, pragmatism, and results. Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio addressed concerns about democratic backsliding, saying governance models must reflect local realities rather than imported frameworks. He argued that instability is often driven by economic exclusion and weak institutions rather than ideology.
We are hard workers and we work both in the day and at night. It is essential to have young people and to keep the birth rate at the right level so that there is sustainability in development.
Botswana's President Duma Boko highlighted the need to strengthen institutions while maintaining policy consistency to attract long-term investment, warning that global uncertainty is hitting emerging economies hardest.
Africa generally is a very young continent with a median age of 19.3. Botswana's median age is 25. And so with such a population, Africa is poised to rule the world.
One of the most moments with the most resonance for the three presidents centered on Africa's youth. They spoke about the growing number of young people leaving the continent in search of opportunities and agreed that education, skills training and jobs are the only real way to keep Africa's talent at home. Without real economic opportunities, they said, political reforms alone will not stop frustration or migration. Throughout the panel, one theme stood out. Africa does not want sympathy or instruction. It wants investment, respect, and the space to build its own future. As global power balances continue to shift, the leaders made it clear that Africa does not intend to sit on the sidelines. It plans to help shape what comes next. The discussions took place at the UAE-hosted World Government Summit, which brought together leaders, business figures, and policymakers from more than 150 countries to talk about the future of governance in a fast-changing world. Reporting for QTV News, this is Yafatu Gay.
Now on to sports news. The Gambia is hosting the 8th Association of International Sports Press Congress 2026 as sports writers and broadcasters from across Africa and around the world arrive in the country. Our sports reporter Mumbudu Gajaga caught up with some of the delegates at the Banjul International Airport, and he now reports.
The Gambia is hosting the AIPS Africa Congress for the first time. The three-day event will be held at the Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara International Conference Center under the theme Digital Media, AI and Ethical Sports Journalism in Africa. The event will take place from the 6th to the 9th of February 2026, with delegates beginning to arrive in the country on Wednesday. They were received at the airport by Omar Jaju, President of the Sports Journalists Association of the Gambia, Musa Sise, Secretary General of AIPS Africa, and executive members of the Sports Journalists Association of the Gambia. Among the arriving delegates were Abdoulaye Cham, President of AIPS Africa, Vama Kamara, President of the Sports Writers Association of Liberia, Moses Al-Said, President of the Uganda Sports Press Association, and Zuza Sitsu, a former Olympian from Hungary, amongst others.
The Congress, for us, we very much excited to be a part of it. As a matter of fact, we were established in 1986, but this is the very first time we are coming to attend an ARPS Congress.
We are quite thrilled of what is ahead of us. I think we are going to quite enjoy a party, but we're also going to enjoy an intellectual party in terms of we are like-minded. How we are going to gather our minds and trying to see how the sports media can live to the modern landscape.
I'm an ex-Olympic gymnast myself, and I'm a sports journalist for more than 30 years. And I'm a sports lawyer as well, and absolutely a very, very curious person, and I'm very grateful to get to know this fantastic place.
The Congress is expected to deepen collaboration among sports journalists, advance ethical standards, and explore the impact of digital media and artificial intelligence, positioning the Gambia at the center of transformative conversations shaping Africa's sports media landscape. Mumudu Gajaga, QTV News.
That brings us to the end of this news bulletin, but before we go, here's a recap of the headlines. Journalists at the airport upon his return on Wednesday, President Adama Barrow said the Gambia's participation in the 9th Nigeria International Energy Summit 2026 in Abuja represents a key milestone in advancing the country's role in Africa's energy transition agenda. The Gambia has been elected by consensus to the Vice Chair of the Bureau of the Preparatory Committee for the United Nations Conference of Plenipotentiaries on the Prevention and Punishment of Crimes Against Humanity. The Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital has received 10 new point-of-care ultrasound machines along with iPads from the University of California Davis training team. In international news, at the World Government Summit, the presidents of Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, and Botswana spoke on global power shifts, rising tensions between China and the West, and what those changes mean for ordinary Africans. In sports news, the Gambia is hosting the 8th Association of International Sports Press Congress 2026 as sports writers and broadcasters from across Africa and around the world arrive in the country. That's all for this news bulletin. Join us again at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching.